Hello, girls, it's Dad. I had an idea. Should I read you a story? Another Christmas story? Okay. Why don't I read you one of my favorites called How the Grinch Stole Christmas? Okay, so just like the other stories, if you girls want to follow along with the real book, or if you ask Mommy if she says it's okay, you can follow along on your iPads, okay? Okay. Alright, here we go. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Turn the page. Look at this. There's a little guy in there. What's that little guy doing? He's got a little bow tie. Okay, ready? Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why, no one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. Sad. Okay, turn the page. Good job. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown as the warm lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now, hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarked with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew. Page. All the Who girls and Who boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush to their toys, and then, oh the noise, 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 noise! That's the one thing he hated. The noise, 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 noise! Goodness, turn the page. Then the Whos, young and old, would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, 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 feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beef, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. Ready? Turn the page. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, they'd stand hand in hand, and the Whos would start singing. And they'd sing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing, 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 sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how? Turn the page. And then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. Turn the page. I know just what I'll do, the Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat, and he chuckled and clucked, what a great Grinchy trick! With this coat and this hat, I'll look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there were none to be found. Did that stop the Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called to his dog Max. He then took some red thread and he tied a big horn on top of his head. Oh man, poor dog. Okay, ready? Turn the page. Okay. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, get up! And the sleigh started down toward the houses where the Whos lay a snooze in their town. Turn the page. Okay. All their windows were dark, quiet snow filled the air, all the Whos were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, this is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed, as he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. What's he gonna do? Turn the page. Look at that. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. But he got stuck only once, for a moment or two, then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. These stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. Oh no, what's he doing? Is he taking their stockings? Stinks. Turn the page. Then he slithered and slunk and with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn, and plums, and he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all of the bags, one by one, up the chimney. Turn page. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out the icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. Turn the page. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. And now, grinned the Grinch, I will stuff up the tree. Turn the page. And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small Who. Little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter who'd got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why? Turn the page. But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick, he brought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. Why, my sweet little tot, the fake Santa Claus lied, there's light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, and I'll bring it back here. And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head and got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Turn the page. Then the last thing he took was the log for their fire. And he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On their walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And the one speck of food that be left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. And turn the page. Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. Turn the page. It was 1:15 dawn, all the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a snooze, when he packed up his sled. Picked it up with their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags, and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. Turn the page. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. Pooh-pooh to the Who's, he was grinchiously humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry boo-hoo. Turn the page. That's a noise, grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low and started to grow. Turn the page. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so. But it was merry. Very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes, and he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came! Somehow or another, it came just the same. Turn the page. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. Page. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 times, 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back all the toys and the food for the feast. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. The end. That was a good story, huh? What do you think that tells you guys about Christmas? What is Christmas about? Think Christmas is about presents? No, Christmas is about our family, isn't it? And it's all about being thankful and all about giving to people. I'm really proud of you guys. Okay, girls, be good, listen to Mama, and give your daddy dolls big hugs and kisses. Because I can feel them. I can feel the kisses right now. Okay, I love you, and I will talk to you guys soon. Be good girls. Smooch!